This missile costs $4 million. This drone, $200 on AliExpress. Guess which one's winning wars right now? We're asking the question that's keeping Pentagon planners awake at night. Are America's air defenses so good they're completely useless? Swatting a wasp with a sledgehammer may work, but what if there are 100,000 wasps? Warfare is largely about simple math. Right now, the Pentagon is looking at math that'll make your accountant cry. To be clear, Patriot systems and similar high-end interceptors aren't obsolete. Fighter jets and ballistic missiles are still very real threats that require million-dollar solutions. The problem is teaching these systems to be smarter about what they engage. The radar and software need to instantly identify when a target is worth a $4 million interceptor versus when it should be handled by cheaper countermeasures. Right now, a Patriot system treats a $50,000 Iranian drone the same as a $50 million fighter jet. That's like using a Ferrari to deliver pizza. Technically it works, but the economics will bankrupt you. Each Patriot missile runs about $4 million. The entire system? We're talking hundreds of millions per battery. Meanwhile, our opponents discovered the ultimate military hack: quantity over quality. An FPV drone that can take out a tank costs $85 in parts, assembled in a garage. A commercial DJI that can spot your positions and call in artillery? $800 on Amazon. Delivered faster than most Pentagon memos get approved. The ongoing June 2025 Israel-Iran conflict showcases the brutal economics of modern missile defense. Following Israel's June 12th preemptive strikes, Iran has responded with sustained ballistic missile barrages that reveal a harsh cost imbalance. The numbers tell the story. Iron Dome Tamir interceptors cost around $40,000 to $50,000 each. More advanced systems like David's Sling and Arrow cost $1 million to over $3 million per shot. Iran, meanwhile, is launching a mix of ballistic missiles that cost an estimated $1 million each on average, though some older short-range variants are far cheaper. Israel has already expended hundreds of millions of dollars worth of interceptors, rapidly depleting its high-end stockpiles. The result is unsustainable math. Missile defense costs more per shot and takes longer to replenish than the weapons it's trying to stop. It's not just warfare, it's economic attrition, and in this round, the attacker holds the cost advantage. It's no surprise that Israel then responded by having their fighter jets take aim at the ballistic missile platform. Now let's hone in on the S-400. Russia's supposed wonder weapon that was going to dominate NATO airspace. Turns out it's really good at shooting down airliners and really bad at stopping teenagers with quadcopters. The Ukrainians have been dunking on S-400 batteries like they're playing basketball against toddlers, and NATO intelligence is taking notes. Our air defenses were built to fight the Soviets in 1985. Not teenagers with drones in 2025. Our systems are precision instruments designed for precision threats. High-altitude bombers, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles worth millions, Patriot, THAAD, AEGIS, and the potentially soon-to-be operational Golden Dome systems protecting our bases. These are Ferrari engines built to catch Ferraris. But what happens when your enemy shows up with 10,000 go-karts? Our radar can track a baseball at 50 miles per hour. Our computers can calculate intercept trajectories that would make NASA jealous. Our missiles can hit a target moving Mach 3. But here's what they can't do: economically engage 300 targets that cost less than a nice dinner. And this matters right now because China isn't planning to invade Taiwan with expensive stealth bombers. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for exactly this scenario: overwhelming US and NATO Pacific defenses with massive swarms of cheap, expendable drones and missiles. The AUKUS alliance is scrambling to counter this exact threat, but it's like bringing a samurai sword to a paintball fight. Technically superior, practically useless. The Pentagon knows this. Every war game runs the same nightmare scenario: waves of cheap attacks forcing defenders to either waste expensive interceptors or let some through. Either choice leads to what military strategists call mission failure, and what normal people call getting your butt thumped by Amazon Prime. Why swarms work isn't just about numbers. It's about breaking your enemy's decision-making process. First, sensor overload. Your fancy radar systems can track everything, but human operators and computer processors have limits. Show them 300 targets simultaneously and watch the system choke harder than a dial-up modem trying to load TikTok. Second, ammunition depletion. You've got maybe 20 interceptors ready to fire. They've got 200 attacks incoming. Basic math says you're going to run out of bullets before they run out of targets. It's the military equivalent of bringing a knife to a gunfight, except the knife costs $4 million and they brought 10,000 sticks. Third, Decision paralysis. When everything's a threat, nothing's a priority. Commanders have to choose: waste million-dollar missiles on $100 drones or save them for real threats that might never come. It's like being forced to choose between paying your mortgage and buying lottery tickets, except the lottery tickets might blow up your house. We've seen this pattern everywhere. Ukraine revolutionized warfare with FPV swarms that hunt Russian armor like wolves. The Houthis shut down Red Sea shipping with boat swarms and drone attacks, basically turning the world's most important trade route into their personal no-fly zone. Even if 99% of the swarm gets shot down, that one drone that gets through can paint targets for artillery, jam communications, or drop a grenade on a command post. Mission accomplished for a pretty low cost. Operation Spiderweb is the kind of story that makes Pentagon officials reach for the whiskey. Ukraine's SBU spent over 18 months secretly smuggling dozens of FPV quadcopters, disassembled and hidden under the roofs of prefab wooden cabins, into Russia. Those cabins, mounted on ordinary flatbed trucks driven by unsuspecting locals, were parked near air bases like Belaya, Diaghilevo, Olenia, and Ivanovo. At a preset time, SBU operatives remotely opened the lids and launched the drones, which struck parked strategic aircraft mere meters from the convoys. In a follow-up twist, some trucks were rigged to self-destruct once the drones had deployed, killing at least one driver and obliterating the evidence. We're talking targets from the Arctic Circle to closer to China than Ukraine. The result? U.S. intelligence estimates they destroyed around 10 strategic bombers and damaged up to 20 more in a single day. The cost of those bombers? Hundreds of millions of dollars? The cost of the drones? Maybe $50,000 total, including gas money for the trucks. Think about that for a second. A country the size of Texas just reached into Russia's backyard and deleted a chunk of their nuclear delivery capability using gadgets you could buy at Best Buy. The S-400 systems protecting those bases might as well have been lawn decorations. Russia had to relocate their entire strategic bomber fleet further east because they can't protect them where they are. This is the new reality of warfare, and it's absolutely terrifying for anyone who's invested in the old ways of doing things. Now, American innovation is trying to catch up. Companies like Epirus figured out that if you can't afford to shoot every drone, maybe you don't need to. Their Leonidas system uses high-power microwaves to fry entire swarms simultaneously. Think EMP weapon, but focused. One Leonidas system can disable dozens of drones for the cost of running your coffee maker. It's a glimpse of hope in a very dark picture. Companies like Saronic are building autonomous boats and vessels for the Navy, basically fighting swarms with counter-swarms. If the enemy brings 1,000 drones, maybe we bring 2,000 autonomous defenders. Again, just a glimpse of what might be possible if we move fast enough. Directed energy weapons, counter-drone jammers, autonomous interceptors. Some of the technology exists. The question isn't can we build it, it's can we deploy it before our enemies perfect the art of turning our expensive toys into expensive scrap metal. And right now, we're losing that race badly. And that brings us to the real problem. Our procurement system moves at the speed of bureaucracy, while warfare moves at the speed of software updates. The elephant in the room: why we're still buying Cold War solutions for TikTok-era problems. The big defense contractors aren't stupid. They're actually brilliant at what they do, selling expensive solutions to expensive problems. A billion-dollar missile defense system sounds impressive in congressional hearings. A $75 drone jammer? Not so much. Here's how the incentives work. High-margin, high-prestige programs get funding because they sound impressive and employ people in key congressional districts. Simple, effective solutions don't have the same lobbying power. It's like Hollywood. Nobody gets fired for greenlighting the $100 million superhero movie, even if it sucks. But suggest making 10 good movies for $10 million each? Career suicide. The result is weapons systems that are engineering marvels and tactical disasters. We've got jets that cost more than some countries' entire defense budgets, but can't figure out how to stop a hobbyist drone from shutting down an airport. Ukraine got some innovative weapons in months, not years, because suddenly the bureaucracy got out of the way. Emergency authorities, rapid prototyping, field testing under fire. Turns out we can move fast when we absolutely have to. Problem is, we usually don't absolutely have to until it's almost too late. And by then, the math has already shifted against us. Some innovation exists. American startups are building counter-swarm tech that would make science fiction jealous. The problem isn't technology, it's getting it through a procurement system designed for a different century while our enemies are already deploying their solutions. It's like trying to download a movie on dial-up while your enemies are streaming in 4K. Meanwhile, China's mobilizing its entire industrial base for exactly the scenario. They're not building better drones. They're building more drones, faster and cheaper than anyone thought possible. Industrial warfare is back, and NATO and AUKUS allies are still shopping for artisanal missiles at farmers markets. China can manufacture drones at a scale that would overwhelm any defense system we currently have deployed. That should terrify you. At least there's hope that Japan is stepping up as a critical ally in the Pacific, but even their advanced manufacturing capabilities pale compared to China's sheer scale. Ironically, we're arming Taiwan for asymmetric defense against a Chinese invasion, teaching them to use small, cheap weapons against big, expensive targets. Sound familiar? But China learned the same lesson. They're not planning to match our Air Force jet for jet. They're planning to overwhelm our Pacific defenses with more missiles and drones than we have interceptors. By all indications, they are very good at this. And we're watching this play out right now in the Middle East. Advanced Iron Dome and Patriot systems struggling against swarm tactics, expensive interceptors engaging cheap attacks, the mathematics of modern warfare written in real time with live ammunition and actual consequences. The systems work, but the economics don't. And in war, economics is everything. The question isn't whether our air defenses work. They work perfectly for the threats they were designed to counter. The question is whether we can adapt faster than our enemies can innovate. And right now, that answer is a resounding no. Every military revolution creates a window where old advantages become new vulnerabilities. The machine gun made cavalry charges suicide. Radar made surprise air attacks nearly impossible. Aircraft carriers made battleships into floating museums. Now swarms are making expensive air defenses economically unsustainable. The difference is, this time we're not the ones driving the revolution. We're the ones trying to figure out how to survive it, and we're not winning that fight. So are our air defenses too good? They're perfectly designed for expensive fighter jets and missiles, but a new threat has risen faster than our procurement process could spell: emergency authorization. We have to treat it as just that, a new threat, one our old systems can't counter. The next war will be won in supply chains and production lines, and in the ability to out-innovate and out-adapt enemy tactics. It'll be won by whoever solves the swarm problem first. American innovation got us here. American innovation might get us out, but only if we let it move at the speed of war, not the speed of Washington committee meetings. And right now, we're not even close. The future of American defense depends on answering one question: can we adapt our systems faster than our enemies can exploit them? The clock is ticking louder than a drone swarm at 3 in the morning. This is Steel Mallard. Subscribe and drop a comment before the drones do it for you.